my journey starts with, I was born and raised in Chandigarh in a typical middle class family. My father worked with government of Haryana, and every 3 years we would transfer from one city to another. And in a hindsight, that training made me to quickly reestablish my ecosystem for school, friends, sports, and other extracurricular activities, which I think in later years, as I became entrepreneur, actually became very handy. So, so I spent a lot of my formative years in Chandigarh and Haryana. And then I went to US during the first dot-com boom as a student to pursue my higher education. And during my higher education is when I first time, while I was 2,000 miles away from Silicon Valley, the bug of Silicon Valley and the startup boom was, it was not limited to any geography, but definitely maybe highest pronounced in Silicon Valley, but very pronounced where I studied. And very soon when I connected dots in terms of what does it take to be living in US or building your career or studying and creating a startup, I realized that, I'm in a business school at a very wrong time. I should be in Silicon Valley building a startup. But when I graduated, by then, dot-com bust had already occurred. And also US experienced a very large catastrophe with 9/11. And after that, if we all know, next 4 years were very, very challenging time in USA. And when I finally reached to Silicon Valley, my long-held dream, after completing my education, very soon I realized I should have been in a school doing my education rather than here, because it was very depressing. And every day I used to wake up thinking that today my company is going to tell me that they are firing me because the company I joined is a Schwab.com. It's the world's largest online stock brokering firm. But it had when I joined them, they had 25,000 employees, and next 3 years, they came down to less than 10,000. So it was very, very depressing. And I came to US in an era when, getting laid off, losing your job was almost like a social taboo. And then I had a much higher challenge in terms of having a student visa, getting converted into a working visa. And that meant if I lose my job, I may have to also give up the right of living in US and have to move back to India within a month. So all these, why I'm sharing is this, because all these things actually somehow were training me without me realizing for what I end up doing or what I do now on a daily basis, building Doom and earlier Shop Clues. So these very high amount of uncertainty, taught me survival of the fittest. But those 4 years in Silicon Valley working with Schwab was fabulous. My super boss became the first ever chief information officer of a company whose name that time nobody had heard, called Google. When he told that he's joining this startup company in Mountain View called Google, everyone was laughing. Well, this company has a very weird, funny name. And nobody realized that, this company will rule the internet in coming. So anyhow, and I was very fortunate to work with Schwab, Charles Schwab, whose name the company is after. He's among the top 25 richest people on earth and disrupted stock market way back in 1974. So was a very legendary founder. I was personally hired by him. So, got good exposure, good training. Then I had a chance to work with Microsoft in their corporate headquarters in Redmond, Washington, and was very fortunate that my work fed into Bill Gates and previous CEO Steve Ballmer. And that gave me a very, very high exposure. Microsoft was, Google was absolutely emerging as a promising company, but Microsoft was the technology gold standard. So working in Seattle, really, got a lot of great exposure of technology and the challenges. And then a friend of mine who worked on Wall Street suggested me that, Sandeep, don't you want to make more money? Don't you want to come back to Silicon Valley? And, as a new parent, I was going through a struggle where, our 3-month-old son used to be constantly sick, going to various daycares. Every daycare, he would pick up new bug. So I had a serious motivation to find a job which where I could make enough money what my that time my wife and I were together making. So that led to a change in my plan, and I ended up taking a job on Wall Street as a Wall Street analyst. So next 8 years, I worked with three marquee investment banks: Citigroup, Oppenheimer, Collins Stewart. I was ranked among the top Wall Street analysts covering internet sector. It has its own ups and downs because financial meltdown happened. The company I worked went through a reverse merger. I thought we acquired the company and becoming stronger. Next, I realized they asked me to leave my job, and then 1 month later, apologize and call me back. So I had seen all these things, and in Wall Street, as they say, if you can survive for 6 months, you can spend a lifetime. So, it was, there I got very deep knowledge about internet, e-commerce. I saw best of Amazon, but worst of Amazon. I saw, worst of eBay, but best of eBay, and companies like Netflix, Google, etc. So it was very nice. Now in 2010, long story short, 2010, Make My Trip went public and listed itself on NASDAQ. So I said, wait a minute, India Internet is 17-year-old. The world has completely dismissed digital economy potential of India because nothing has happened since 1994, and this is 2010. But now here is a company which is going public. So maybe as an Indian, I should find out what's going on back in my home country. So I decided to fly here. There were like half dozen noticeable company. None of them were unicorn. There was only one unicorn, which was InMobi. And I wrote a very nice report on India Internet. First report ever by a mainstream Wall Street analyst out of Silicon Valley. And then I realized that if I truly believe in what I wrote, then I should be creating an underlying company rather than just writing a research report. And then, I realized that the Walmart of India could be an online company rather than a physical store. And that online company got to be a marketplace rather than a inventory-led model, which 100% of the Indian e-commerce companies were at that time. So that led to me starting ShopClues. I reached to a stage in my life where I said the regret of not building ShopClues will be bigger than anything I gave up. So I gave up my $1 million plus, job. I gave a life in Silicon Valley and United States, and all the comfort and something for which I worked very hard for 15 years, and came to India to start ShopClues in 2011. I was raising 1.5 million from someone, from a couple of my friends. A large, very well-known VC met me. He said, you are a famous Wall Street analyst. You need a lot of capital. Why 1.5 million? Take 5 million from me. So I said no to that 1.5 million, started spending 2 months with him taking 5 million. And 2 months later, he actually refused to put the money. So I was back to square one. He told me that he'll not put the money the day my household stuff and 3 other Indians who were joining me as a team members, household stuff was going in a ship to come to India. So we had already resigned from our jobs. We had no house. And so I stayed back, went back to all the friends and asked them, will you still put the money? I'm the same guy. It's the same idea, right? And to my surprise, I was able to get roughly 1.95 million. So I raised that capital, came to India, started the first ever marketplace, had its own ups and downs. 31 venture capitalists actually rejected me for the first venture capital round, and there were 3 reasons. One, they thought the marketplace will not work. Second, they thought that I have a very temporary outlook for India. I'm an NRI and I will go back to, or either I will not permanently move, or I will move back, but move back to US quickly. And third, they obviously worried that, other companies, are much bigger and you have not even lived in this country. So anyhow, we executed well. We were the 35th entrant into Indian e-commerce. Within the first 9 months, we became the 3rd largest e-commerce company. Our ranking we maintained for the next 4 years. We became the 4th ever unicorn in India. And that time, fastest to reach unicorn level, and spend less than $70 million to reach a unicorn, a record which no other unicorn out of 110 unicorn India has been able to break so far. So very proud of a very frugal operations. I had my own ups and downs. Happy to go in detail, but I have to kind of answer your questions and do more other things. But just wanted to mention that I got the month I realized, after 3.5 years of struggle, the month I realized that ShopClues has arrived. It's a matter of time. It will become unicorn and go IPO. Is a month I get arrested in United States by FBI for the charges which later on they dropped and dismissed. But that time it caused a lot of calamity to me and my life. And and ShopClues became $1 billion. I could not go back because of this legal mess in US. And literally in my early 40s, I had to, in spite of giving one unicorn to India, I had to start my life all over again. And that is when I started Droom. So I had a lot of learning, spent 26 years of my life all in digital economy, working with two large companies, working as a Wall Street analyst and two-time entrepreneur. So I have a lot of learnings, a lot of success, and equal amount of failures.